Hey guys, this is Eric LaFlechee. I'm here with Derek Pankaew at Pun Space in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I actually just met Derek how long ago? A week ago? 2 weeks ago?
So yeah, probably 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first moved here and came to Pun Space about 2 weeks ago, one of the first people I ran into was Derek. And we actually had lunch yesterday, and that got me thinking that we should put this video together. Now, Derek, can you give a little background on you, where you're from, what you've done over the past 7 years, and any other details that you can think of?
Sure. I'm from San Francisco, and over the last 7 years, I left San Francisco about 7 years ago and booked a flight to Thailand. And for the last 7 years, I've had a 100% online income, and I've been traveling 28, 29 countries or so. I did go back to the States for about 3 of the last 7 years, so 4 of the last 7 years I've spent living and traveling in different places. And I've run a range of different businesses in that time. In the beginning of my travels, it was mostly freelance work, freelance paid traffic, freelance copywriting, and freelance content writing. And then for the last probably 4 years or so, most of my income has come from different businesses that I've run. So I've had information product businesses, several physical product businesses, selling t-shirts, selling products on Amazon, drop shipping products.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary.
So how did you kind of move away from the freelancing world, where I was assuming you're making an hourly rate or per job rate, to running 4 or 5 different products over the past 4 years? What kind of triggered that change from working for someone to completely working for yourself?
I think I'd always wanted to do that. It was just, it took a while to actually make it work. I think I had a couple projects where I tried to do that earlier and it just didn't really work.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was being here. Johnny helped me set up my first dropshipping store, and that was really useful to have both a person and a model to follow. And likewise, with Amazon, I think it was just finding the right people and the right business models and executing on that.
So when did you do your first drop shipping store? 4 years ago?
No, that was probably about 2.5 years ago.
Okay. And that was your first successful business, or was it kind of working, kind of didn't work, was enough to get by kind of situation?
The dropshipping store?
Yeah, the dropshipping store.
So the dropshipping store, I think I built the store in about 2 weeks, and then it got to about $10K in sales a month in about a month. And out of that, about 1 to 1.5 was profit, which would have been great, except when people buy a $2,000 foosball table, they want to talk to someone. I'm living in Asia, and so they're calling me at 4 a.m.
Okay.
Which was fine. At the time I was like, I'm broke and I'm doing freelance work, so if I take a call and it results in a sale that makes me, $200 or $300, I'm like, I'll wake up at 4 a.m. But then as my other businesses started to take off, and the $1,000 a month became less significant, I started just not wanting to get up at 4 a.m. every day.
100%. So after you kind of started making more money with the other businesses, and you were still making what, $1,000, $1,500 with the dropshipping store, did you kind of just let that fizzle out, or did you look at selling the store, or how did that kind of end?
Yeah. So when the t-shirt business took off, it took off like a rocket ship. So it was 0 to 50K a month in less than 3 months, basically, in sales. And so when I had this store that I was making $1,000 a month on, the process of selling it would have just detracted so much from my other stuff that was growing much more quickly. Even if I sold this business that's 3 months old, I'd get maybe $8,000 for it or something.
Yeah.
I just don't have the energy to go through this process, so I just gave it to Johnny. I'm just hey, you were running a bunch of stores. Do you want to run this one? He was like, sure. I was like, here, you have it. Yeah.
That's funny. Do you know if he still runs it today?
He gave it to someone else who I think sold it to someone else. It's still running right now. It's actually much better now than when I built it. I visited it recently, and it looks beautiful.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, oh, wow, that's great.
This is the first time that I've heard a digital nomad or entrepreneur give away an asset to somebody else, and then it still be alive years. It's probably been, 3 years now?
2.5. Yeah, I think. God, when did I start that store? Actually, yeah, it's probably 2.5 to 3, something like that.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, from freelancing to your first dropshipping store that you learned how to do from Johnny FD or johnnyfd.com, which a lot of people that come out to Chiang Mai have some kind of connection with Johnny, whether his blog brought them here or they learned dropshipping from him online or they took the Antoine course because of Johnny. So after freelancing to the dropshipping, you mentioned the t-shirt
Yeah.
business. Now, from my understanding, this is probably one of your most successful businesses
Sure.
to date, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you give us a little details on the t-shirt business?
Sure. So the business model with that is basically there's a bunch of different services that allow you to upload designs to their website.
Yeah.
And what they'll do is they'll print the t-shirt for you, they'll send it to the customer, they'll handle all the customer support, and all you need to do is upload the design and market the shirt.
Okay.
So the way that worked for me in the beginning was I just downloaded a bunch of courses around Facebook ads, around the t-shirt business. I taught myself Facebook ads really quickly, and then I just I have like a baseline proficiency in Photoshop.
Okay.
So I just went into Google Images and Pinterest and these different places and started looking for ideas. Not copying ideas, but kind of adopting ideas. So
Yeah.
I would take a funny quote from one market and adapt it to a different market, or just kind of tweak things.
Nice.
And so I just started off with very simple shirts. I think the first ones that I put out was different job titles that said, what was it? Oh, so I majored in economics, so let's just assume I'm always right. So like,
Yeah.
this is like really simple, sort of funny things. It wasn't even. It was literally just text. There was no graphic design on it. I just
Yeah.
threw that up myself. I think I threw up 4 or 5 designs, and then 1 out of 5 made money the first time. And I
Nice.
was, the ones that didn't make money cost me $20, and then the ones that made money maybe like $5, $6, $7, $800. And I was like,
Each.
wow, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
wow. It was just like, in the first 5 days in this business, I made more money than I did like in the last 2-3 weeks of like doing different things.
Yeah.
So then I just kind of went hard into that, ran it on my own for the first couple months, and then came to Thailand and started hiring a team. And then at its peak, I think I had 5 people working for me, so including myself, 6. Yeah.
Now, can you go into like what platform you used, some like how much money you were ended up spending on ads, like
Sure.
towards the end, on Facebook, and how many T-shirts you were churning out each week?
Yeah, so we were putting out 40 to 50 designs a week. Those weren't all original, so a lot of them were templates. So like
Yeah.
if it said I'm majored in economics, so let's assume I'm always right. It would, we'd go through all the college majors for. If the design converts for college majors, we'd go through every college major, go through every profession we can think of, go
Yeah.
through every pet,
Yeah.
like just like different categories of things. But yeah, how much money we spent? I think I spent about $120,000, 125 or so
Wow.
over the course of the business. At its peak, I was spending over $4,000 per day on Facebook ads.
Wow.
That was like Christmas season, right?
Yeah.
And then, I generated over $600,000 in sales over the course of 9 months, but most of that actually came in like a 3 or 4 month period where,
Awesome.
again, around Christmas was just like, that was just like nuts. Like over 100K in 1 month in sales.
Wow.
Yeah, probably like 50K in just like profit in like a month. Actually made 10K, almost 10K in 1 weekend.
That's
So,
awesome. Before
yeah.
Christmas.
I think that was like right after Christmas. I don't actually made more sales right after Christmas than during Christmas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And were you using Teespring or?
I was using Teespring.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
I tested T-Chip. T-Chips, they weren't as good.
No.
There are a lot of people that came in and said, "Hey, we'll give you higher profit margins than Teespring."
Yeah.
But they end up sacrificing on quality, and then you get more complaints, and then it's just.
No, it doesn't.
It actually takes a lot of infrastructure. Like T-shirts, you need to print them.
Yeah.
So you have to buy printers.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people do come in and say, "Hey, we're cheaper than Teespring," and then they get a lot of orders, and then they can't fulfill them because they aren't built to scale. So.
Yeah, and then you have customer complaints, more returns, then
Right.
you have that customer service element that becomes a problem. Because it's
Yeah.
mainly, does Teespring do the customer service or do you do the customer service? Or is it a combination?
Teespring does the customer service, but if you have a bad customer experience, because you're launching them from your Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
And you're using that, even though I'm not hardcore building out an email list and an audience, I still have an audience, and if they start complaining, um, it's bad for business.
Yeah, it detracts from your other sales.
Yeah, exactly.
So at the top of the business, you did at the end around 600,000 in
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
And then can you break down the cost and like kind of your profit?
Sure. So about 1 out of 10 designs is profitable.
Yeah.
It costs about $25 per shirt, including design cost and ad cost to test the design. Should we wait for that?
Let's keep going.
Okay. So to test 10 shirts is about $250, and then average a profitable shirt will make anywhere between say $700 to $1,500.
Yeah.
However, 1 out of 100 shirts will make like 5 to 15,000. So
Wow.
there's the regular profitable shirts 1 out of 10, and then there's like the home runs 1 out of 100.
That's crazy.
And then so net profit out of 600,000 was probably about 150.
Nice.
Yeah, and the costs are mostly ad spend, design costs, and then just like admin, having people upload the stuff to Teespring and manage the Facebook page.
And then
stuff
that
like
Teespring cost of the t-shirts.
Oh, right,
stuff,
and the
right?
Teespring,
Yeah,
just
so the inventory.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was probably the biggest chunk, right? Inventory and ad spend.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So, what made you stop? If you're making 600,000 and 150,000 in profit over 9 months, that's, I mean, most people make less than 50,000 a year. That's almost 3 years of income for people. So why did you ultimately move away from that business?
I think so. I moved away mostly because I was burned out,
Yeah.
and I tried to hire the right team to take pressure off myself twice, and I just didn't hire the right teams for that. So my initial team was people that I met here in Chiang Mai, and I mean they were great people, and they were really smart, and they helped me scale the business really quickly. But they were also entrepreneurs, and they wanted to do their own thing. So one of them was running a dropshipping store. His store started doing well. He wanted to go off and do that. And yeah, people just kind of left for different reasons.
Yeah.
So I tried to hire a team in the Philippines after that. And they were very reliable in that they could execute everything that I asked them to do, but they couldn't independently learn the platforms and then adjust
Okay.
according to the changes. So anytime something changed, I had to step in and redo all the processes.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, that become difficult, right? Because even me, when I hire VAs, I have to put a system in place or a process in place that they follow, whether it be a video that I record and they follow that video, or an Excel spreadsheet, or even a Word document that says, okay, take this step, this step, this step. This is how you post on Instagram. This is how you post on Facebook, so on and so forth. And this is how you promote something. And I think you mentioned to me yesterday, if any of that changes, it becomes like a retraining situation, which can be the biggest problem.
right. So I think if I had to do it over, I probably would.
Welcome to Chiang Mai, Thailand, guys. Apparently we have airplanes, motorcycles, and some sort of fireworks going on. So I'm going to cut the video right now, and I'll jump right back in. Oh, maybe not.
Oh,
Maybe not. We're going to continue.
okay.
Yeah, so the process was the biggest issue with your team in the Philippines.
Yeah, and I think if I had to do it over, I was trying to save money. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, hiring someone in the Philippines cost me $600 a month for someone full time. But I think I should have just paid someone in the States like $8,000 a month to like someone professional who all they do is eat and sleep Facebook ads,
Yeah.
and then have them handle all the paid traffic, and I'll manage the design team and the process and everything else.
Got it.
Because that stuff isn't that nearly as complex, I think.
The designs and the
Yeah,
aspect.
that's really just like project management.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I had just bit the bullet and hired a professional to do that stuff, someone who isn't planning on, it's like their business. They're not planning on quitting their business. You know, I think I could have made it stable and taken myself out. But by the time, you know, I tried twice to build the right team, I was just tired.
Yeah.
And I had the Amazon business was really passive, and it was making $1,000 a month for the last 9 months with zero effort from me. So I
Nice.
just decided to grow that instead.
Before we jump into that, you actually have a Udemy course for the Teespring
Yeah.
situation, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to link the Udemy course in the description, and you guys can check it out. I think you made it last year.
Yeah, I would say it is much more difficult to do Teespring now than it was when I got into it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I would necessarily recommend that model right now. But yeah, that course is there if they want to get into it.
Nice. And a lot of people are switching away from Teespring and moving to kind of a Shopify Printful model where they're selling it on their own store instead of selling it on Teespring and ultimately still having someone else fulfill it for them. Is
Right.
that what people are going towards now?
Yeah, and actually, a lot of people are actually moving away from t-shirts in general. T-shirts are great for testing a market,
Yeah.
but I don't think just selling t-shirts in a market is the best idea. But a lot of people are setting up Shopify stores. They might be using t-shirts to test the market, get their Facebook targeting down, and then they're swapping out other products into it that they're drop shipping from China. So they're using
Nice.
AliExpress. So if you start by selling dog t-shirts, you can then start selling dog collars or dog bowls or
Or
dog toys or whatever.
Dog tags, so on and
Dog
so forth.
tags, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you don't have to own the inventory. You just send them from China when people order it. So.
And you can do that with Shopify as well. I actually just put a free course out on my YouTube channel about connecting a Shopify account via Oberlo onto an AliExpress store, so you can start building that out. So you can check that out as well if you want. So you transitioned from T-shirts to Amazon FBA,
Yeah.
right? And weren't you doing Amazon FBA to begin with, kind of at the same time as Teespring?
I actually launched them at like exactly the same time.
And why did you kind of put FBA on the back burner?
It was just slower. It was FBA. It's a really slow process, I find, and it's kind of a boring process. So you contact a bunch of suppliers, you wait a day or two to get your responses. You pick one. So I was doing supplements, so I picked one, and I placed an order, and they get back to me saying like this is what they need, mostly design stuff. So I get them the design stuff, and they're like, great, you're in legal review now, because you put out a new supplement, you have to go through legal. So they're like, you're in legal review now. We'll get back to you in a week or two. So I just have a week or two now.
Yeah.
And I had some freelance work, but that's kind of when I started Teespring. It's like, all right, I'm just waiting on this thing.
Yeah.
And then once they're done with legal review, there's like one more round. And then once both rounds of like review is done, they're like, okay.
Is this with the supplier or with
This is
Amazon?
with the supplier.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a thing with Amazon as well, of getting into the category.
Yeah.
Once they're ready to manufacture, they're like, okay, it's going to take like 6 weeks. So just sit tight.
So like 2 months after you started the
yeah,
process.
exactly. And they're like, okay, now we'll ship it to Amazon. That takes a week. And then you get an Amazon, you give away some stuff. And then there's just so much waiting with that business that I had time to start something else.
Yeah.
So I think I actually started the Amazon first. And then I was in the waiting process when I started the Teespring thing.
So you had Amazon as like the first focus, and then
Yeah.
all this time, so you went to Teespring, that blew up.
Right.
You spent 9 months on that, kind of forgot about, you focused on one thing, kind of forgot about FBA, let that do its thing, and then after Teespring and you burnt out, you're like, oh wow, this FBA thing's making me money? And
it's been making $1,000 a month with like, all I do is check the inventory once a month and then reorder like every 2 months. That's it.
That's it.
I spend
a few hours.
Yeah, I spend 15 minutes a week, if that, on that business.
Nice.
And then here I am working like 50, 60 hours a week on this other business.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of decided to switch at that point.
Now, with your Amazon business, how did you, the part that you mentioned before, getting into the Amazon category, for a lot of people is a big hurdle.
Yeah.
You know, like they require different invoices, they require different material and business verification for you actually to get into that category and to get approval. So did you take the risk and buy the supplements before you were in the catalog, or did you have your supplier provide invoices before you actually purchased the product itself? How did that work for you, and how did you get in?
Yeah, so I'm not that familiar with how it is today. I've heard it's gotten a little bit harder. But when I did it, Amazon doesn't put a limit on how many times you can apply.
Okay.
So you can just apply every day. If they keep denying you, that you could just literally just keep going, because there's such a large team. You just go to a different person every time. Eventually, someone's going to say yes.
Yeah.
That was kind of the philosophy when I did it. It only took me 3 tries though. So how I did it was I placed the order with my supplier. I got on the phone with them and I said, "Hey, I need 3 different invoices from you guys. I'm going to place this order, but don't start manufacturing it yet. If I don't get in, can you refund the order?" And they said, "Sure."
Okay.
And they're very familiar with how Amazon works, so they were happy to work with me. So yeah, I placed an order for $2,500 or so, and they split it into 3 invoices.
Nice.
I sent the 3 invoices to Amazon. I had to do it 3 times, just kind of repeating things in different ways. And then I got approved, and I had the agreement with the supplier that if I didn't, then I'd get the money back, basically.
That's good. And how long did it take you to go through that 3-attempt process with Amazon? A few days or like
Yeah,
a couple
a few
weeks?
days. Yeah.
Nice. So start to finish, idea to getting it on Amazon, how long?
Probably about 2 months.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's been running for...
About 2 years.
Nice. And are you still just with one product? Are you expanding? Are you kind of just letting that be passive and enjoying
Yeah,
your life?
I expanded to a bunch of different products.
Okay.
And then I'm actually like sort of contracting it now. I've run into a bunch of issues with Amazon recently where some products got suspended and they're revamping their whole review system, so I had some reviews removed, and right now I feel like I have too much. Some of the products I'm planning on just selling through the inventory, and then kind of because what I don't want to happen is to have like $25,000 in inventory and then have Amazon just close down, various listings. So
Yeah.
the ones that are making good profit and high volume, then I'll keep churning, I'll keep restocking and doing that. But in the past, I had a few products that had low sales volume, and I just kept the inventory there because why not? It's free money.
Exactly.
But now it feels like that inventory is riskier, so I'm just not feeling as safe to have a bunch of money in Amazon at the moment.
Nice. So with Amazon, you're still moving forward, but being a little more cautious, using a couple different products. FBA is huge in Thailand and Chiang Mai. A lot of people are doing it, and a lot of people are still getting into it. Do you think it's an opportunity that still exists for people that haven't started?
What I would recommend for people who haven't started yet is to find a way to create a product that's different, differentiated product. And I think that'll get you more genuine reviews. It'll allow you to rank higher. People on Amazon are shopping around. If you have 2 products that are exactly the same, they're just going to go for the one that ranks higher or has more reviews. Yeah. But if you have a slightly different product, even if you have 40 reviews, the other guy has 200, if they like yours better, they're going to buy yours.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, so many people are just talking about this private label copying thing that they're ignoring the basics of business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would...
Bless you.
I would do a differentiated product. And it doesn't have to be that expensive to do that. In supplements, it's literally like, hey, can you put these 2 different powders in instead of this one powder? Like, I know people
and then
who
market that fact that it has 2 different powders.
It's a unique formulation.
Yeah.
I know people who started supplements with unique formulations for 200 bottles. Or there's other things like those kind of bamboo coasters.
Yeah.
With like laser etchings. You could just have someone design some new etchings. They're using the same laser machine. It's not going to cost you any more.
And then you can ultimately just remarket it based on the design. So you're focused on the design.
Exactly.
The reviews, as long as they're halfway decent in the beginning, and the price is similar, you could,
pretty much,
based on people's personality, right? So.
Yeah. So instead of a rose, maybe you have dragons.
Nice.
Right. So just create a product that's different. Look for ways to differentiate, even if don't get into plastics. That's going to cost you an arm and a leg to make something different, right? That's going to make you need to make new castings, but things like carvings, etchings, anything that there's a ton of products that I don't think cost a lot of money to be differentiated. So I guess what I'd say to new people is don't make a new Me Too product, make a new product.
Now, so you're saying don't go into t-shirts, go into FBA, or would you caution people to go into FBA right now?
I think FBA is still a very valid business.
Okay.
It's less of a gold rush. A couple years ago, it was like, oh my God, this is the easiest money you'll ever make. Get into FBA now. Today, it's more like this is one of a number of different businesses you can get into. There's pitfalls, pros and cons. I would get into it. Think of it more like a real business.
Yeah.
If possible, have more than one sales channel. So if you can have your own store in addition to Amazon, I think that's even better. If you can own the customer relationship, that's even better. Yeah.
Nice. So from dropshipping store to t-shirts to FBA, is there anything else on your agenda right now, or anything that you're working on currently?
I'm actually leaving's a strong word, but I'm switching my focus from the location independent kind of online cash flow stuff to startups.
Nice.
My intention is to work in a startup for a couple years and then go and start my own after that. And where this is coming from is I've really enjoyed the last 7 years, and when I first left the States, what I was looking for was a sense of freedom, I think,
Yeah.
and I've found that and really enjoyed that. And now what I'm looking for is more of a sense of meaning and impact, and maybe significance, like scale. So I'm wanting to work in, and I think the kinds of mindsets and the way you need to operate to create a business that reaches $1 billion or reaches 1 billion people is very different than how you build a dropshipping store.
Yeah. Or a
So,
passive income / residual income source.
right, exactly. So I'm wanting to be in that conversation. I want to be near those people. I think I want to work in a company like that to understand how that operates. Before I'd like to do my own thing after that.
Nice. So what's the biggest team you've worked on so far? So have you always been by yourself? Have you been in a small team or a corporate environment in the past? Or is this like your first foray into a more structured environment with bigger teams and bigger efforts?
Yeah, I think the biggest team I've been on is probably 6 to 8 people, so less
Okay.
than 10.
Wow. So no corporate,
No corporate.
no startup before, other than like the small teams
Exactly.
that are trying to build something.
Right.
Awesome. Is there like a few? Where are you going to go? Are you going to go San Francisco, Austin,
York.
New York City?
Yeah.
So are you focused more on like financial startups or creative startups, agency style? What is your target?
I like financial startups a lot, mostly because I have this like irrational curiosity around economics and finance. Like I've read an economics textbook for fun, and I follow like Planet Money and just.
I can do Planet Money. I'm not sure about economic textbooks.
I mean, it was
but-
an audiobook. But
Okay. That's a little easier.
Michael Lewis's books. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have this like innate curiosity about it, so I think it'd be great to learn about both startups and finance at the same time. Other than that, I mean, I'm mostly looking for the right culture and the right size for me. So I don't want a company that's already gone public, probably. But I also don't want to work for a company with less than, say, 30 people, because it'd just be really similar to what I've already done.
Yeah.
So, like a non-public company with ideally like 50 to 300 employees, fast-growing, something like that. I read the reviews from past employees online before I go. So like with a good working culture, ideally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. Using like Glassdoor or another resource that truly can determine whether you're going to enjoy a company or not, right? So for example, I've worked at companies that are 4 out of 5 stars, right? I worked at Apple in the past, and you can feel the environment and the culture and your attraction to being there a lot better than some companies which I worked at, which were 3.1. You know, it's incredible how aggregated data about employees can really translate into real world experience. Now, don't get me wrong, like your boss has a lot to do with that too. So, right, the culture of the company is one thing, and then the boss you have. If both of them aren't good, it can be completely destructive. If your boss is really good and the culture is okay, you can still get by. If your boss is really bad and the culture is awesome, you'll have a hard time. You know, so I completely agree with that approach. If you ever go into a corporate environment or startup environment, I would recommend that as well, because you're putting your like the majority of your life into that area. You know, 40, 60, 80 hours a week into work. You want to make sure you enjoy it, or you might want to come back out here afterwards because it's so stressful. For people that that want to come to Chiang Mai or want to be more independent or have that freedom like you mentioned, what are a few things you would recommend or steps for them to take that you would recommend right now to either start that journey and or kind of push them towards that path?
Got it. I think a few things. Number one, if they haven't experienced making money online yet, I think the easiest way to get started is freelance work. When I started freelance writing, I literally just put up an ad and I had my first $200 in 2 days, something like that.
Nice.
So there's an active market for whatever skills they may or may not have. If you have digital skills like programming or design, then do that. Otherwise, anyone can write. So, I think that's the easiest way to get started. Other than that, just get really good at learning, I think. So get used to listening to podcasts. There's a ton of courses on Udemy where if you want to learn Facebook ads, you can learn it for $10 today. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much information. So, I personally find what works best for me is to buy people lunch and dinner. So, if I'm thinking about drop shipping, then talk to 2 or 3 people, see if it's something I want to do. Once I make a decision, then just get all the information in one place, buy all the courses, and just study it as quickly as possible, and then just start doing it.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, how does it make you feel? Are you feel like content? Is it going somewhere? Or
One second, guys.
feeling,
Let me
what?
jump right back in. Cool. So, taking people to lunch and dinner.
Yeah. So hear about the business model in person first. See, because the way real people talk about it, it's a little bit different than the online sales letters. So you want to hear about it from a real person.
That's completely true. Yeah, completely true.
And then learn the model as quickly as possible. Most of these models really are not that complicated. Like, it's really not that hard. So just learn the model. Spend 30, 40 hours just listening to podcasts or watching Udemy courses, or pay $500 for a real course, or whatever it's going to take, and then just execute. Just do it.
Yeah.
Something magical happens when you make your first sale. Like, it becomes real. So you want to get to that point as quickly as possible, even if your website looks like shit. Even if you're like, the first product I launched on Amazon, I ended up shutting down a few months later.
Okay.
Like, even if what you launch in the beginning is crappy, just getting to the first sale as quickly as possible.
Nice. I think that's hugely important, because you can listen to different courses over and over and over again and keep consuming and never execute.
Right.
And you'll be a learner forever, which is extremely important. But if you don't execute, you'll never make the cash flow you need to take it to the next level.
Right.
And ultimately become a teacher. I think what the life cycle of an individual is: a learner, an executor, and then a teacher. And
Totally.
And the teachers are the ones that have 5 years of experience, 2 years of experience, who've sold a ton of product and or have been in an environment so long that they can establish that information to other people. And that's when you become an expert, and you can literally build a following. So not only can you do like sell on FBA, but then you can sell even more courses because of your experience. So there's so much benefits to that. So Derek, tell us, what's your next step? You're here for how long?
I'm in Asia for another 2.5 weeks, I think.
Nice.
I have a retreat in Bali, November 17 to the 21st. I'll probably want to stay there for another couple days. And then, I think around 24th, 25th, I'm flying to New York.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Derek, I will see you in New York for New Year's.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for jumping on this with you. Guys, if you want to find out more about Derek, how do they reach you? Is there any way to reach you?
Yeah, Derek Pankaew at Gmail. That's great.
Perfect. Awesome. I will link up his Udemy course. You can check it out if you want. He did advise you t-shirts isn't the best thing to go into right now, but just listening to this guy for a few hours might help you. And shoot him an email if you want anything. Subscribe to this channel, and I'll talk to you guys soon.